And I would say, I think to people that they have regrets because they maybe didn't take this time that you're saying people should take now. They didn't, so now they have regrets. And I would just say, you have a choice now too. Mm-hmm. Do you want to let those regrets hinder the way you love, the way you live now for the people that are still here?
Right.
There's always a next. Mm-hmm. There's always a current. There's always a present. And it's so powerful, like living in the present, being in the moment, and doing that well. I don't know. It against that darkness and that light, remembering them well, but not letting the darkness take over. So then we're just caught in the negative past. So it really rains on the future and the present that we could be living with people, creating those new memories. There's a lot there. It's powerful. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
Welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you. I missed you guys.
Good to have you back. We also have producer Arnold back here in the house, mic'd up.
What's going on, guys? Great to be back.
With a fresh cut.
Yeah.
I like your cut, G.
I appreciate it. I did it myself. You don't want to see the back, though. It's kind of silly.
The back, I saw the back. I didn't notice anything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Looks clean. Looks good.
In that case, I'm taking orders. Find me on Instagram. $35 a cut.
New
Good to go.
Side hustle. Okay. Okay. So if you're not a parent of a teenage kid, most parents of teenage kids have heard this saying, "I like your cut, G," because there's this famous TikTok video of this kid that says, "I like your cut, G," and then he hits this kid in the back of the head.
Oh.
So it became this like phenomenon where when you hear somebody say, "I like your cut, I like your cut, G," then you're gonna get slapped in the back of the head. So anyways, I'm too far to slap Arnold, and that's not even 5 stars.
No, it's not 5 star.
I would never think of doing that. That'd be inappropriate, greatly inappropriate. Okay, I don't know why we talked about that, but probably because I just spent some time in Florida visiting kids, and whenever the more you're around kids, the more you start acting like kids a little bit, which is kind of fun. But me and Arnold were in Florida, so people probably see some stuff on social media, but great trip down there. By the way, if you just tuned in, really want to encourage you, if you've been listening to this show, you can actually make sure you never miss another episode by subscribing to this channel. We listen, we're streamed anywhere that podcasts are played. We're also on YouTube at The 5-Star Life. So do us a favor. If you like the show, just hit like and then subscribe and then share this with somebody. It helps us so much. It's like a super small, simple thing you can do to help us expand and bring awareness to the impact that we're having in our region of the nation and across the nation.
Let's talk a little bit about our impact. So you just went down to Florida, and we were talking about 5 years we've been in Florida. Wow.
5 years, and it was sparked because of the Parkland shooting. So it was that Parkland tragedy that the Department of Education, the governor, they're looking for, like, how do we help this not happen again? Like, we have to get ahead of these things where we have these school shooters. And so we had some opportunities to go in there and build some relationships. And it's been 5 years now in Florida, and we're having some really great impact.
You had some really cool stories, and you always enjoy that, to hear them face to face.
Yeah, I mean, that's you. There's nothing like meeting kids and hearing how 5-Star is impacting them. But then also, a big part of what we're doing there is just listening. To stay relevant in this culture, it's so important. I mean, we do all kinds of research, and we have a great sounding board of educators and parents and psychologists. But you have to hear from kids, and so I go school to school to saying, tell me, if it was just me and you in a room, what are the top 1 or 2 issues that you're dealing with? What are the challenges? What are the struggles? And what do you need help with? What do you wish we would tackle in 5-Star lessons? So you get a lot of great feedback. It was fun because it's interesting. A lot of parents of teenagers think that their kids don't care about their relationship with their parents. Mm-hmm. But what I heard a lot of was, can you do a lesson on how to navigate my parent relationship as a 16-year-old, as a 15-year-old? Because they care about their parents, but they're struggling because they feel like their parents are just breathing down their necks nonstop, right?
Right.
So I told them, I said, you need to tell your parents to go to our 5 Still Life YouTube page because we have this podcast that's actually geared towards adults. And so kind of cool. Actually, one of the schools, they're like, we're going to start sending that link out to all of our parents.
Oh, yay.
So
good.
That's cool.
That's really, and we did some interviews for our radiothon that just wrapped up. But in the grandma said that she was just desperate for, help and information, anything to help with her grandson.
Yeah, I think the thing that I hear this a lot in the community, it's so weird, but people blame parents for everything. And I get it because I guess for my kids, if they're acting a fool, I'm to blame. Like I'm the parent, right? So that makes sense. But it's in a very judgmental way. Like if parents would just get their act together. Well, just pause and think about that for a second. Did you ever think about like how challenging it might be to raise kids in this generation? So instead of just pointing and judging, maybe have a little bit of empathy and just give them a little bit of a pause to think, what would it be like? Because usually people that aren't parents that are judging them harshly, because the ones that are parents, they understand how hard it is. Or if they're parents that are judging, they're parents that they haven't faced some of those hard things yet. And we think we're immune. I don't know, it's interesting, right?
It is interesting. And, you do think you have a perfect child and you're the perfect parent until you start facing those things. Then you're thinking, holy crud.
Yeah. We can all write parent books. Mm-hmm. We all got it figured out until all of a sudden we don't. Mm-hmm. And you don't know when that moment's going to happen. Again, because of technology, kids can get into any corner of the world and be influenced. They can be humming along in life doing just fine. And within a week, all of a sudden they're in a funk because of what they've been into. And I see that like crazy. And anyways, this grandmother, yeah, I mean, she just shared from her heart how deeply 5 Still Life touched her when she needed it the most. She felt desperate, alone. Like, who do you talk to when your kids are struggling? I mean, you don't want to have those conversations,
right? And there's very few safe places you can talk.
Yeah, and she used that word, safe place, which is sad.
It is sad. And I think sometimes even in families, it's not safe to talk. But you do, and like she said, it's so important to share and to be able to hear other stories that you're not alone.
You're not alone, and it's twofold. It's a safe place where you can share. But she also said, I needed new information. And it was the curriculum, it was other parents, it was that whole conglomeration together that gave her exactly what she needed to start to do what? Start to change the way she was looking at her grandson. When you're in a bad place with your children, your grandchildren, we have to be careful because we can get into a rut mentally where we have them pigeonholed here in this place that they're stuck at. And we can start to think some pretty dark thoughts about they're always going to be here and this is always going to wear me out and I don't know what to do. And we can think these worst case doomsday scenarios that actually is really toxic for us. And I talk about this a lot with kids and parents. Kids can tell when you look in someone's eyes, you can see if they believe in you or not. And they can feel it by the way you talk to them, interact. So when a parent starts to lose belief, kids notice that, and that's crushing. That's a crushing blow to them.
And that it seems like that spreads too. Once you start to have those feelings and almost show your child that you have them, other people pick up on that, and then that poor child is labeled for a long time.
Yes, it is. it is absolutely tragic. And I love this grandmother shared that Five Star Life was this place where her grandson it was a totally new environment, totally neutral. So the families, the other kids, and then Five Star didn't know anything about him. Mm-hmm. There was no judgment. He was starting with a clean slate. And I think that's another big part of the impact some of our programs are having, is it gives them a do-over to rebuild. And she talked about it. Vision. We talked about vision.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be? Right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have you pigeonholed.
Right.
You're not limited to who you were yesterday. Powerful stuff. All right. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more. In the meantime, really want to encourage you, if you've been listening to the show, please like this and subscribe to the show. Helps our algorithms. Also, if you can think of other people that would benefit from this program, share it with them. Help spread the impact. Get them hooked up with Five Star Life. And then finally, I'd say, go to our website. If you've never been a part, if you've never volunteered, if you've never got your kids or your grandkids involved with actual Five Star Life programs, we have so many things planned for this summer. Now is the time to start to enroll your kids in those programs. We also, if you're a golfer, we have a golf outing coming up, sponsorship opportunities, and obviously get to force them and have some fun with us. We'll be right back after this.
Did you know that you can bring the values, lessons, and mindsets Coach Seth discusses on the Five Star Life podcast to your local community? Schools are searching for programs and content that work. Just a simple introduction to your teacher or principal could be a game changer in your community. Inquire at fivestarlife.org and someone from our team will be in touch.
Welcome back to the Five Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio with my incredible co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
And we've got Producer. This is, okay, I want everybody to listening to try to say this. It's a tongue twister. Producer Arnold. If you say it too fast, I don't know what happens to my tongue, but it's difficult. But Producer Arnold.
Producer Arnold. Even I can't say. Producer Arnold checking in. Great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Got your accent in that one.
Yep. The Kenyan or the Australian?
Yes.
Yeah. So Coach Mia, we've missed you in the show. Those who know you closely know that you just went through and just a storm, losing your mother. Loss is so hard. It's actually, when I was in Florida, I had several students say, "Can you talk about how to deal with loss?" And it's this inevitable part of being a human being, but it's still really difficult. Like, how do you process that, and how have you processed this?
Well, I would say that I'm early in my processing journey, but I have had time to process it. For one thing, it's like my mom was going to be 93. So we knew this day would come, but the last year it required me and my siblings to care for her. So someone was there every day and every night. And so it was a long journey, and my sister took probably the brunt of it, but we all did what we could. So I had that time that I was with her to decide what I wanted to do with that time with her. And you and I talked a lot about it. It was hard. I went back to way back in my childhood, and you're just walking through like, am I going to hold on to that? Am I going to let that go? How do I want this to end? And I wanted it to end well, and I wanted to care for her well. So I felt like I did that. I don't, someone said, "Oh my gosh, do you have regrets?" I said, "I don't have any regrets. I don't." I wanted to, clear that. So I believe that God gave me a year to be with her and a year to kind of sort this out. But man, when the day came that I lost her, it's these emotions that just came over me. It was losing her. And, your mother is a central part of any family. And I think mothers, it's very complicated. My brother gave a eulogy, and it was just beautiful of how he said, you know what, God trusts his most precious, beings with a mother. So you mothers out there, you hang in there. It's an incredible gift and a job that God has given you, but it's also a complicated gift, and it's a complicated relationship. I don't know too many daughters and mothers that really have a great relationship. So what I've found through that loss is there were so many emotions that I did not let myself feel until now. And maybe I couldn't feel them until now. They were just stuffed down there. And now I'm feeling them. And I mean, if people, my husband, laughs that, I don't ever cry. And I cried, but not that much, it's like, right. Not him. He's a crybaby. And I haven't stopped crying. And I think just the beauty of people that have gone through loss, that have reached out, sent cards, sent flowers. I mean, just incredible care that people have given me. I just thank all of them that I have those people in my life. The other part of this, though, that's been incredible, and maybe this has been this journey in the crying, is to see all the people my mom touched. Every person that came to her funeral told us she was my mother. Oh my gosh, she was like a mother. Even my mom worked with nuns for over 40 years, and I think there was like 12 of them that came, and there's still some that, they were young when she worked there, and I don't remember her name, said, "Oh my gosh, Emily was our mother." So my mother was mother to nuns. Now we had to sacrifice some of that. My mom worked since I was in second grade, weekends, nights, holidays. But so that's where I was like, you can be bitter about that because somebody else had her and you didn't have her. But gosh, guys, when it's over and said and done, it is so cool to see the people that loved her and the strength that she had. And you're like, man, I want to be like that. And then to see like sorry, I keep talking, but like my grandkids too, like, just to see their relationship with her and for them to try to understand, they've never had a funeral like that before. So it's
a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
I mean, it's their first experience with loss.
Yeah.
And what does it mean? And who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the curious part of life that, the people that you love the most, your kids, like they don't understand. It's impossible for kids to understand who you really are beyond a mother or a father.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm 57 and, you're just, it's like my eyes are open to this whole new world of
her legacy.
Yeah. Her legacy.
Who her life really was. The other side of Emily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting to think about, but it's so cool when you have a mother like yours that actually served and gave and had some purpose in her life.
Mm-hmm.
It had to have been really, really powerful and really helpful in the healing process and in the grieving process when you have a mom that was loved and that had influence, as opposed to others that don't have that.
Right. And I mean, but she didn't even see it. Like she made us do certain things for her funeral because she said, no one's going to come. She goes, who's going to come see me? I'm old. And, they were jam-packed in there. Mm-hmm. And so that was interesting too, she didn't do it for the glory. She just did it because she loved people and was just a strong woman. So it's wonderful to see those things and I can grab those things. But I keep thinking too of what I feel now, the hurt, the everything, the loss. I can't imagine not being prepared. So those people, there's all kinds of loss. We were very fortunate that we knew it was coming. We all got to be there. She waited for me. I got there at 11 o'clock at night and she passed away at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's incredible. Most people don't get that.
No, I just met a young man in Florida at one of our schools. He's 17, and he just lost his father Friday. And just so many kids I meet that have just so many site visits. It seems like every school I go to, there's somebody I meet that had just lost a father, just lost a mother, and so young, and that's a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
My wife dealt with that. At 17, she loses her father, but But it's this. I talk about this all the time. It's not like loss is in pain and hurt and stress. These are all things that are relative. Like, how can I say my pain is worse than yours, or your loss is worse than, like, you can't do that, because loss is just, it's loss, and it hurts.
Right.
And how do you deal with it? So powerful stuff. All right. We're going to take a break in just a moment. But for those of you who you're out there and you're listening to this show and you're dealing with stuff, you're dealing with emotions, one of the things, and you have kids that are going through loss, just want to encourage you to really take a look at this YouTube page, to look at our podcast, go through some of the archives. There's a lot of shows that address, like we did some shows specifically on dealing with loss for kids, and we'll continue to do more of those. But also stay tuned, because we have a 5 Star Life app that is going to be launching here in the coming weeks and months. That we're piloting right now. But I think that's going to be a great tool, especially if you're kids and if you're a family, to go through, where you can actually start to bring some of these things that, because in loss, if you're not, like, you're very intentional, so you're being intentional and mindful about loss and taking time. A lot of people don't know how to deal with it, so they just bury it and they just kind of move on. They kind of turn the page because they don't know what to do with it. But our curriculum is really there to help you process not just loss but life, right? And a mindset, and it's a way and a process of thinking critically and analyzing and processing your life, so that you're actually moving forward, not just treading water going backwards. So you can do that at
5starlife.org. 5 Star Life offers year-round programs for kids at our 350-acre training facility that we call Summit. These programs focus on 3 core components. First, each program includes lessons from our curriculum that targets kids' mindset. Secondly, each program teaches a skill like equine, archery, blacksmithing, basketball, fishing, boating, and many more. Thirdly, our programs connect kids to mentors we call coaches, who are trained to help kids live a 5-star life. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more or sign up your kids.
Welcome back to the 5 Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth. I'm in studio with Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth.
We have producer Arnold in the house as well.
Good job.
What's going on, guys?
With a fresh cut. Mia, thanks so much for being vulnerable. And I know this is very close. This is just in the last, couple weeks. But, we're talking about loss. That's kind of where the show has kind of gone a little bit. And we all deal with it, but we don't all deal with it. It's a reality, but not everybody deals with it. And I think loss can be so traumatic. To your grandkids, to you. This could be depending on what you do with this season, it can either propel you and launch you, or it could just latch onto you and hold you down.
Sure, and identify you almost. Yeah, no, I've thought a lot about that. Somebody used the word that, it's almost a rebirth, because for me, this is my second parent. So I no longer have parents. I lost my dad when I was 22, and, they were completely different losses. I was young. Obviously it hurt, and I miss him, but I still have my mom, and it's to look back at that. I don't know that I truly ever probably grieved for my dad. I don't know that I had the tools to do that. But now I do have the tools, and it's going to be better. And, I do believe that, I can help people with my story, because so many people have helped me with their stories. And, loss is different for everybody. So you kind of have to choose at some point what you're going to do with that.
You talked about, just in the break, you mentioned there's a point where in the grief process that at some point it has to turn. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess I was almost going into that. You have to make a choice. What am I going to do with this? I can be sad and stay there, or I can take this and learn and do something with it. And whatever that means, you may do something in whoever you've lost in their memory. You may see that, oh my gosh, look what my mom did. Gosh, I want to do something like that, or change careers or whatever. I mean, it really does open you up to a new world. And you can stay in your world and make it better, or you can, you have time to pivot and start something new. It could be a good thing.
Yeah. And it's, the way my mind thinks about these things, there is like, there's a darkness that can overtake you, or there's a light that can overtake you. And the way we frame our own lives, and the way we even frame the relationship with whoever we were, who we lost, forever how you frame that person, it could be overtaken by darkness or light, because there is good and bad to all of us. We've all done good and we've all done bad. And, I'm not sure if that's been a part of your process, but, it's amazing, and something I teach kids in 5-star, like, you have to be gracious to your parents because they're the only ones that you have. And they're doing the best they know how. And maybe it's a crummy job, but it's the best they know how. So you have a choice to make. You can either focus on everything that they do wrong, but that will drown out and it will cause an imbalance, because you'll be blinded to the good that they have, right? Because what we do is we take for granted the good. Well, they should do that. Right. And so there's so many different layers to this.
I think the one thing too that I've learned in this last year is some of the things that probably bothered me about my mom, that, you're like, oh, I never want to do that. I never want to be like my parents. That it's like, she gave me my strength. She gave me and then we would talk about my grandma, who, we didn't have a great relationship, but she was a strong woman. So my strength is from my mom and my grandmother. That's a cool thing, that's where you have to kind of start to look that, they bug me, but man, you know what? My mom gave me the gift to debate, or, my dad gave me the gift of athleticism. I mean, those are cool things, and that you have to kind of hold on to those, that there is good in your parents.
And it's strange, because in America, it's the great melting pot, which it's a really kind of a cool term, but it's also, I think we've got to celebrate the legacies and the cultures and the people more than we do, right? Because there's such unique things about each culture and about each family that makes us America, but we've got to hold on to that stuff. And I think a lot of it gets lost. So very cool, powerful stuff. Any other thoughts on that?
The other thing that I guess I've been thinking about is, I guess I don't want to have ever gone through loss and had regrets. So, it's like you kind of do have to evaluate now. Maybe you're not experiencing loss, but if you're don't have a good relationship with your parents or siblings, or you've cut somebody out of your life, get that right. So even friendships, just get it right, so you don't have to ever be faced with, regret.
That's a strong word. That's so powerful. And there's so many people that have so many regrets. And probably the best thing that happened to you is, in the last year, you were processing all of that in real time, and you were prepared for this.
Right.
And that helps the grieving, healing process. When there's no regrets. Right. And when you have regret, that's where the darkness can come in and latch onto you. And there's so many people that live there. And I would say, I think, to people that they have regrets because they maybe didn't take this time that you're saying people should take now. They didn't, so now they have regrets. And I would just say, you have a choice now too. Do you want to let those regrets hinder the way you love, the way you live now, for the people that are still here? Right. There's always a next. There's always a current. There's always a present. And it's so powerful, like living in the present, being in the moment, and doing that well. I don't know. It against that darkness and that light, remembering them well, but not letting the darkness take over. So then we're just caught in the negative past. So it really reins on the future and the present that we could be living with people, creating those new memories. There's a lot there. It's powerful.
It is. And we do talk about that with kids. It's in one of our lessons. And that's, I encourage people to go back. We do go through these lessons. We didn't talk about that earlier in our podcast. And I mean, every time we go through them, I learn more.
Yes. And that's go through the archives, and you can find in the curriculum, if somebody's watching this and they're using our app, you can go through and see where our app and our podcast align. So check that out.
Yeah, and when the app comes out too, it's a wonderful tool, and there are master classes, and they're in 7 weeks, little bundles, and it takes you through conflict, and it takes you through some of these hard things to get down, I guess, as a person. And
yeah, and one of the things that the grandmother that we interviewed in the radiothon, she talked about. I said, because her grandson, angry, outburst, violent, upset, bullying kids in school, getting in fights in school. He has a problem at home, a problem at school, and there's reasons, like his father was abusive when he was young and was had some issues, and so he's with grandma and grandpa now, so he's angry about a lot of things. But she just said, it wasn't one thing; it was the whole process. And I think that's the word for people that are listening. What is your process? Do you have a process? We all want in today's culture a quick fix. We want the microwave. We want the pill. And I'm telling you what, the process is so much more fulfilling and so much more effective. And it doesn't have to be long. We're talking in 6 weeks, this grandmother and her grandson transformed. And it's been months, and he's doing great academically, back in school. That's the power of the process. And so I'd say latch onto our app, latch onto this show, and go through it together. I just met a family. I keep on meeting these families that they're listening to our radio show and our podcast together, which I think is brilliant.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we got to take a quick break. Just a reminder, another plug. This is the time to get your kids involved with 5 Star. We have so many programs happening this summer at Summit that include our curriculum. There's so many ways to get involved. And we also have a 5 Star Life golf event coming up in June, the end of June. There's still time to register, get your foursome, and even sponsor. We'll be right back with our last episode after this.
Five Star Life offers year-round programs for kids at our 350-acre training facility that we call Summit. These programs focus on 3 core components. First, each program includes lessons from our curriculum that targets kids' mindset. Secondly, each program teaches a skill like equine, archery, blacksmithing, basketball, fishing, boating, and many more. Thirdly, our programs connect kids to mentors we call coaches, who are trained to help kids live a 5-star life. Go to 5starlife.org to learn more or sign up your kids.
Welcome back to the 5 Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, joined in studio with Coach Mia and producer Arnold.
Hello, 5 Star Nation.
Hey, to wrap things up, again, I just want to remind people, we're a nonprofit organization on the mission to change the face of education, of sports, and of culture. And if you enjoy this show, really want to ask you to consider not just liking it, but sharing this show with somebody else. And for those of you who have done that, thank you so much. It's a big deal. It's a simple way to have impact. But I also want to ask you to get involved. There's a place for everybody in 5 Star Life, whether it's volunteering or donating, or being a champion, being a conduit to introduce 5 Star Life to a school or another nonprofit in the area if we're not in your community.
Great.
So in this last segment, I want to just recap a little bit. We've talked a lot about loss in your journey, and I really appreciate you being vulnerable, and that's going to help so many people. Because there's so many people that are going through different stages, and we have a lesson that talks about the different stages of grief, which is a powerful lesson. But I also want to finish where we started, and we started by talking about we went to Florida, and I've got to share this story. And I'm leaving one of our schools, Union County High School. I'm walking out I'm leaving a classroom. The bell is rang. Kids are gone. I'm just talking to one of the administrators and a teacher. And this kid walks up to me, introduces himself, and he is just this, you know, some teenagers can just be awkward.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. Oh. And he's just, which I love. I love it when awkward kids come up, because the temptation for a lot of those kids is to not approach people. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I just love it. And so he approaches me and he's like, hey, Coach Seth, I just wanted to share with you, thank you, and share with you the impact 5 Stars had on my life. I said, well, my pleasure. Like, how did it impact your life? He said, well, you know, it really didn't impact me at all at first. Like, I thought your lessons were, you know, just irrelevant and kind of cheesy, and I didn't need them. It's like, why are we doing this? He said, but that was in 8th grade because their district does it. I got to high school, and something just slowly began to change. He said, little by little, with each lesson, my mindset slowly began to change. It was just a process. He said, but it's helped me in so many ways. Just understand who I am, what I can be, how to think. Like, it's helped me tremendously. And then he pulled out his phone and he said, last year you did a video, and you talked about saying yes to every good opportunity. The way that you find your gifts, your talents, your strengths, even how you find out your personality is by saying yes to good opportunities. So, you know, Coach Seth, you said, say yes to every good opportunity for the next 5 years of your life. So I said, I'm going to take Coach Seth up on that challenge. So I knew as a junior, I wanted to do that my whole senior year. So I knew I'm going to go for the school play, and I'm going to go for the basketball team. Now, as a basketball coach, I'm thinking, bruh, you're a junior and you've never played basketball on a team before, and you're going to go for the varsity team? And he quickly said, you know, of course I didn't make the team. He said, but the coach asked me to be on the film crew. And so, because he loves technology. Uh-huh. And so he said, I filmed all the games and practices, and I was on the film crew. And he said, that was a great experience being a part of the team. And he fell in love with basketball. And he said, then he pulls out his phone and he said, but then the last game of the season, he said, the coach let me dress.
Aww.
And the game wasn't close. And so the coach called my name. He put me in the game for the last few seconds. And he shows me this video of him at the buzzer as time is expiring, getting the ball at the top of the key behind the three-point arc. And he gets the ball and shoots the ball, just you know, two-handed. And it goes up, hits the backboard, banks in at the buzzer.
Oh, my gosh.
And the student body rushes the floor. It was the coolest moment for this kid. And so just want to give a shout out to Nathan, because Nathan represents what 5 Star Life is all about.
Yeah.
It is not about who you were yesterday. It's about who you want to be today, mm-hmm. and where you want to go. And like, you think about this kid who he was in the band, and that was it. Mm-hmm. He experienced sports, to be on a team, to be in a play, to be on a stage. Like, he experienced all these things. And he looked at me and said, I just wish I would have done this sooner. I wish I would have done this all 4 years. And I said, dude, Nathan, you're young. Mm-hmm. You're 18. You're learning at 18 what people that are 48 and 58 have never learned. Like, you're ahead of it, man. You got it. Like, this is your springboard. He said, I get it. So it's just very cool to hear stories like that.
And that's what I'm talking about. No regrets. No regrets. That's how we got to live our life. And, you know, you see all these sayings and you're like, oh, never for me. But yes, for you, for all of us, for Nathan. Yay.
Yeah. So it's so fun to hear people just going after it. And I think that's the thing that we heard over and over. And feel free to chime in. But just student after student. And these site visits are fun. Mia, you've been a part of them.
Oh, I love them.
But you get all the high, like when you're on a video, kids think you're famous, and so they all want your autograph and they want selfies and all that, and all that's great. You know, it's wonderful that a person like me can be a positive influence with all the sea of bad influences out there. I love that and I own that. But what I love is it's the kid who quietly comes up and says, Coach Seth, you've changed my life. And they start to tell me why. And they're just through sea of kids, there's always that kid that just lingers and then looks in the eye and say, "You've changed my life. And here's how I've grown. Here's how I've changed. Here's how," and they're 30 seconds or a minute. They're quick interactions. But that's why we do what we do. Kids living a 5-star life. That's what it's about.
Do you have any stories, Arnold?
Not any specific stories, but I will say, just like Seth was saying earlier, there was story after story after story of kids that have been impacted by our curriculum. Like with 5-star, one of our 5-star values is courage. And, it's a principle, it's a value that for this kid didn't quite set in, initially when we first jumped into the curriculum, but just through our partner schools, like, it takes partnership to be able to bring this, to be able to bring 5-star into the lives of kids. That's one kid that we're talking about that was changed by our 5-star values. And we'll tout those values all day here at 5-star. But for that one kid to be impacted, it needed a school district to get involved. And it didn't happen overnight. And so it took that school district being consistent with us, believing in us, believing in their kids enough to be able to keep this, to be able to partner with us over time. And then we see the results. And these results began to kick in junior year. And then senior year, we start to see the fruition of it. What's in store for him after high school? Mm-hmm. What's in store for him in his adulthood? What's in store for the generations that he's going to be able to impact? And I mean, the whole student body saw that game. They rushed the floor. What are they thinking as they see that? They see a kid that was courageous, that took a step, and is night and day different. And kids want that. And that's the power of 5-star life.
And the cool thing is now, so one of the school faculty administrators were standing there listening to the story, and nobody knew this story.
Oh, wow.
Like nobody knew it because, our journey is our own. So they were seeing this go on, but they didn't know what prompted it, that it was 5-star, right? That he was taking these lessons. So these administrators was like, at the end of the day, like, this is the most inspirational day. Like, I needed this. Like, this was good for my soul. Like, now, after following Coach Seth around all day, listening to these kids, like, I feel inspired and challenged. Like, what am I doing with this? That's what the administrator said. Is very cool to hear.
It was awesome.
Powerful stuff.
Yes.
So that's what you're a part of. So thanks for tuning into this show. I hope that the points that we're sharing, the people that are taking this serious and then applying it, I hope you're doing the same thing when you listen to this program. And I think that's the power. As we roll out this 5-Star app, I'm going to start kind of dropping that bug in your ear. You really should think about downloading that app and utilizing that with your kids, your grandkids, using that as a family meeting once a week, having a family meeting around that thing. When it's ready, we'll let you know. We've been testing and piloting and trying to get it ready. But it's almost there. So thanks for tuning in. I also want to say this. This is the time of year when schools are looking at programs. So making introductions is key. You can reach us at 5-Star Life. But thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. 5-Star Life.
At 5-Star Life, we are changing the face of culture through education and sports by changing the most important piece of a human being's life, their mindset. If you are interested in being a part of our journey, please visit 5starlife.org for more information on volunteer and donation opportunities.